the moment your life changes. You're getting arrested tonight, not because you're guilty, but because in the next 30 seconds, you're going to make a choice that will haunt you for years. I've defended over 2,000 DWI cases. Most people who got convicted weren't necessarily drunk. They were unprepared. They didn't know the game. By the end of this video, you'll understand something 95% of drivers will never know. Something that could change your entire life. The exact moment it all goes wrong. Picture this. You're driving home on a Friday night. Maybe you had one glass of wine 2 hours ago. You feel completely fine. Your hands are steady. Your mind is clear. Then you see red and blue lights in your rearview mirror. Your stomach drops. You pull over. The officer approaches and leans in. He doesn't ask for your license. He says, "Have you had anything to drink tonight?" That's the moment. That's the trap. And 99 times out of 100, people spring it without realizing why your brain betrays you. The officer doesn't know if you've had 0 drinks or 10 drinks. He has no evidence, no breathalyzer, no tests. He's operating on a hunch. But the moment he asks that question, something shifts. You feel defensive. You need to prove your innocence. You believe honesty is the best strategy, so you talk, you explain, you justify. And here's what nobody tells you. Every word out of your mouth is either an admission or evidence. There's no in between. When you say, "I only had 1 drink," you're not defending yourself, you're confessing. When you say, "I had it 2 hours ago," you're giving the prosecutor a timeline to calculate your blood alcohol level. When you say, "Smell my breath," you're handing them probable cause they didn't have 5 seconds before. Your own words become your worst enemy. The legal truth they hope you never learn. Here's where it gets interesting. The law is actually on your side, and the police know this. In state after state after state, courts have made something very clear. Kansas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alaska, Ohio, Colorado, Wisconsin, Washington, Louisiana, Wyoming. The smell of alcohol alone is not sufficient to establish probable cause for a DWI arrest. Think about what that means. The officer's opening move, "I smell alcohol," is legally insufficient by itself. It doesn't prove intoxication. It doesn't prove impairment. But the moment you start talking, you change everything. You transform his weak position into probable cause. You do his job for him. He doesn't need a breathalyzer if you've admitted to drinking. He doesn't need field sobriety tests if you've told him how much you consumed. You essentially arrest yourself with your own mouth. The mistake that haunts people. I've seen this happen hundreds of times. People think silence equals guilt. They think if they don't talk, the officer will think they're hiding something. So they overcompensate. They become overly friendly. They try to charm the officer. "Officer, I know my rights and I'm happy to answer your questions." Then they answer everything. Their drink count, their timing, everything. And then they're shocked when they get arrested anyway. They think I was honest, I was cooperative, I did everything right. How is this happening? What they don't understand is that cooperation with an investigation you don't understand isn't a strategy. It's a disaster. The officer isn't your friend. The officer is building a case against you. The psychology behind the police trap. When an officer says, "I smell alcohol," several things happen at once. First, they're testing your reaction, watching your face, watching your body language, seeing if you panic. Second, they're creating false authority. By saying they smell something, they're implying they have more information than they do. They're creating an illusion of evidence. Third, they're triggering a basic human instinct, the need to defend yourself. We naturally start justifying. We naturally start explaining. We naturally provide information. And that information is what they want. Not your honesty, not your cooperation, evidence, ammunition, anything they can use against you when one moment destroys an entire future. I had a client, I'll call him Marcus. Marcus got pulled over on a Tuesday night. He'd had 1 beer with dinner 5 hours earlier. Completely sober. A breathalyzer would have shown well below the legal limit. The officer asked if he'd had anything to drink. Marcus said yes. 1 beer. 5 hours ago. The officer didn't do field sobriety tests. He just said, "You told me you drank. I smell alcohol. I'm taking you in." At the station, the breathalyzer showed 0.04. Completely legal. Well below the limit. But Marcus had already admitted to drinking. In his jurisdiction, that admission plus the alleged odor was enough for conviction. Even with a clean breathalyzer, Marcus lost his job. His employer found out about the arrest. He lost his driving privileges for a year. He spent $50,000 fighting a case where he was completely innocent. And all of that could have been prevented with one sentence. One simple response. The one sentence that changes everything. Memorize this. Write it down. Say it out loud multiple times. When the officer asks if you've had anything to drink, you say this: "Officer, I'm not going to answer questions about my consumption. Am I free to leave or am I being detained?" That's it. That's the entire response. Why does this work? First, you're not being rude. You're being respectful and clear about your position. Second, you're invoking your constitutional right to remain silent on this topic. You're not refusing to cooperate generally. You're specifically declining this specific question. Third, you're forcing the officer to make a decision right then. Either let you go or detain you. There's no gray area. If he detains you without sufficient evidence, that detention can be challenged later. Everything from an illegal detention gets thrown out. The entire case collapses. How this destroys their case before it starts. Think about what just happened from the officer's perspective. He had nothing, just a hunch. Maybe a minor traffic violation, maybe nothing. He tried his opening move. I smell alcohol. He tried the manipulation he's trained to use. But you didn't respond the way he expected. You didn't give an admission. You didn't give an explanation. You didn't hand him evidence. Now he has to justify the detention. He has to articulate specific facts that led him to suspect impairment, not a gut feeling. Not just the smell of alcohol. Specific facts. Does your car weave slightly? That could be road conditions. Is your speech slurred? Without an admission, he'd have to prove it. Are your eyes tired? You work long hours. That's not an impairment. Without your admission, the case becomes significantly harder, maybe impossible. When the officer pushes back, the officer will push back. Absolutely. He might say, "If you have nothing to hide, just tell me what you had to drink." He's using manipulation and social pressure. Your backup response is this: "Officer, I'm exercising my constitutional right to remain silent. I'm not answering any further questions without my attorney present." Here's the critical legal point. Your refusal to answer based on your constitutional right cannot be used as evidence against you. That's the law. If the prosecutor tries to use your silence, your attorney will object, and the judge will sustain it. Your silence is not guilt. Your silence is a fundamental constitutional right. The field sobriety test trap. Here's where most people slip up. The officer might say, "Step out of the car. I need you to perform a few tests." You think, "I'm sober. I can pass these tests. This will prove I'm innocent." Wrong. Field sobriety tests are completely voluntary. Every single one. The walk and turn test, the one leg stand test, all voluntary. And here's why that matters. You can be completely sober and still fail these tests. You start before they say go. That's clue number 1. You turn wrong. That's clue number 2. You move your arms. That's clue number 3. These tests are designed to have multiple failure points. The officer has complete discretion in determining whether you passed or failed. So what do you say? "Officer, I'm declining the field sobriety test. I want to speak to my attorney first." Simple, clear, legal, understanding what's really happening. This isn't about beating the system. This is about understanding that a police investigation is adversarial by nature. Even when the officer seems nice, even when they seem friendly, it's still adversarial. The officer has a job. Build a case. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. His job is to investigate an arrest. Your job is to protect yourself. Being informed. Being smart about every word you say. Every word you speak can be used against you later. Your best strategy isn't cooperation. It's informed silence. The truth about your instincts. If you get pulled over, you're not thinking clearly. Your adrenaline is spiking. Your anxiety is through the roof. You're scared. You're confused. That's exactly when you need to be most careful with your words. The officer knows this. He's counting on it. He's trained for it. He knows scared people talk, confused people explain, anxious people over-cooperate. But if you memorize these phrases before you need them, you'll have clarity when everything feels chaotic. You'll have a roadmap when you're lost. That clarity could literally change your life. Memorize these 3 sentences. Write these down. Say them out loud multiple times. Sentence 1. Officer, I'm not going to answer questions about my consumption. Am I free to leave or am I being detained? Sentence 2. Officer, I'm exercising my constitutional right to remain silent. I'm not answering any further questions without my attorney present. Sentence 3. Officer, I'm declining the field sobriety tests. I want to speak to my attorney first. These 3 sentences could save your freedom. They could save your career. They could save your future. Share this with the people you love. Comment below and tell me your story. Have you been in a traffic stop where things felt scary? What happened? Your story might help someone else prepare for their own moment. If this video makes you feel more prepared, share it with your friends and family. Share it with your kids. They might encounter the police before you do. They need to know this. The power you already have. Like and subscribe for more content that actually prepares you for real situations. Knowing your rights isn't just legal knowledge, it's power. The police have training. The prosecutors have experience. The system has resources. But you have the ability to stay silent. You have the ability to invoke your rights. You have the ability to protect yourself in the moment that matters most. Use that power. Exercise that right. Protect your freedom. I'll see you in the next one.